morning. I'm Richard Petty. How y'all doing?
So what does it mean to you personally to have the 42 back under the Petty roof?
Yeah, I told them we started years ago, I guess 1960, when I first started cup racing. We had a 42 and a 43. And then, Kyle got the number after his dad went away, or granddad went away. And then he took the number away from Petty Enterprises, I guess, and it got gone for, 30 years, 40 years. Just bring it back. So like I told him before, so like the whole wheel has kind of come back together. So to me, and I think to our family, it means a whole lot.
Richard, I was under the impression that when your former investors were in there, you were trying to get your name back, your brand back, and all.
We got that. We got the IP.
Okay.
Yeah.
Did you get that back with this deal?
No. We already got it.
You
back.
got it back
Yeah,
before that.
yeah,
Okay.
Yeah, we've had it back probably a year and a half.
Okay.
Yeah, we'd already worked through that deal because we knew if anything ever happened to RPM and stuff, then that gets away from us, from the family.
Mm-hmm.
So we went ahead and bit the bullet, more or less, and went ahead and worked that out with Andy and them.
Okay.
So that worked out good. Yeah.
Okay, good. Thank you.
Why was it so important to you to keep that intellectual property, keep the Petty name and brand going in the sport?
It's not for me, but it's for my kids, my grandkids, my great-grandkids, you know what I mean, from that standpoint. Also, if you've got your IP, then you've got a little bit of control over what people perceive of you, okay? You know what I mean? In other words, you can put out a lot of propaganda that you're a good guy, but if somebody else has got it, they like to put out something else. You know, so you got a little bit of control over your name, and I think everybody, just Joe Blow, would like to protect his name as much as he can.
And some people probably read the headline, right? Like GMS buys a part of Petty Motorsports, and maybe thought, oh my gosh, Richard Petty's leaving the sport, kind of thing. That does not seem to be the case.
I ain't going nowhere. When my toes turn up, that's when I'm gone.
You mentioned being bored on the weekend. Do you plan to now, with this new organization, be more present at the racetrack this season?
We really don't know how NASCAR is going to play the thing and which states are opening up or whatever. So all of that stuff is just going to be from week to week or month to month on what. We won't sit down and say, okay, we're going to every race or we're going to this race and skip that. We don't know yet. Again, the circumstances beyond our control will dictate what we do.
Richard, there was a time when race teams would have sold out for pennies on the dollar. I mean, did you ever face that prospect?
No,
How do you
no,
describe this?
no,
How
we
do you
never-
describe the journey of what
No,
it's worth now?
we never got into that situation. No matter what happened, we've always been able to survive. You know what I mean? And it's like a cat having 9 lives. We just went through 2 or 3 of them. We still got some left. Okay.
How do you describe this journey of what ownership is now with the charters and the worth and the money behind it, and what you can get out of it now?
Do what now?
Just how do you describe the journey about
Can't see your lips.
what ownership used to be and now what it is now?
Well,
The money
okay.
these charters bring.
Really, before, if you had a race team, that's all you had. If you've got a charter, then you've got something that's an asset. A race team per se is not an asset, because if you buy something for $100 and you got to go out of business, you're lucky to get a nickel out of it. Okay, with the franchise, we'll protect that investment, because the franchise will be there, and for anybody to coming in and stuff, you got a chance to sell your franchise to cover your expenses if nothing else. You know.
Richard, why does this re-energize you, as you said on stage? What is it about this that re-energizes you?
The whole deal. If the country opens up, I get re-energized, because I've been sitting at home all last year completely and half of this year. So being able to get out and do things and not just look at the same 4 walls or, Buffalo playing in the yard or whatever it is. So, it really, I guess all of us would get into a living pattern, and I'd like to get back, maybe not all the pattern we used to, but back somewhat close to the pattern that I've lived in all the years. So that's what I'm looking forward to.
As far as the performance, you said no excuses anymore. So does a deal like this maybe it's another chance to kind of just get back on the map, get this team relevant again?
Okay, all the stuff now is going to be more in our hands. Okay, and the more it's in our hands, the more we can blame each other or blame ourselves. If we don't do good, we can't blame that guy over there or that guy. It's us. So we got to then sit down and get better at what we do. And that was what we always did. Petty Enterprises with Dale and my brother. If we had a problem, we didn't have that problem again. So that's what we can do now. That the way the organization, the way the new cars and stuff are, and the new cars are going to be tricky because there's going to be a lot of bugs in them that everybody's going to change. Going to have to change some stuff, or NASCAR's going to have to change the rule just to get these cars where they can run and be raceable. So, every time they run a test right now, they're still trying to improve the product. So it's going to take a little while to make that work too.
One more question, then he has to go.
Got it?
So your time out in Las Vegas, going to see the Raiders with
Yeah, man.
Gallagher's, how was that?
That stadium blew me away. It's unflipping. And then was out there. We must have seen 8 or 10 professional football players, Hall of Famers and stuff. I mean, I was just blown away, man. I mean, then here comes the coach from Clemson. He's down on the field. He had 5 players playing for Vegas. So I said, "What are you doing here?" He said, "I got 5 players playing out there." So okay. so that's the way I am when I go to the racetrack. I got a race car out there, guys. Okay. Thank you, guys.
Thank you, Rich. Thank you.
What feels like a realistic expectation for next season for you guys when you're running 2 cars? Cup Series?
1, 2, or 1? No. We got spoiled after 2020. We took 1, 2, and 3 in the Truck Series at Phoenix that day. I think we can win. It's easy for me to say. I'm not going to be on the floor day to day doing it, but this is the best racers in the world. I don't want to be, I don't want to come across as being arrogant and the like, but it'll take us a while to get there. But this crowd, they know what they're doing. There's 65 wins in 7-8 years. I mean, a win's a win in this sport, So
I'm no business expert, but you don't spend $19.1 million unless you think there's going to be a return. Can you speak to that, the confidence you have in this new system, in this car, and why that investment is worth it? What signs are there?
Well, the investment primarily that you're speaking about is an asset purchase. It's not an economic business in the sense you're buying an asset like a car, an airplane, and the like. Do I think it'll hold its value and go up? I believe so. Could it go down? Yeah, depends on the timing, and we have a downturn. People are dropping out. You don't have demand for the charters. Price is going to go down. But I think there's just a sense this business, this industry, this sport is really on the uptick, and as a result, there'll be a higher demand. And I think you're going to see waves of it too. You took out a lot of the lower end charters, the Rick Wares. He's out of 2 charters now. Starcom is gone, the 00. So some of those lower end guys, they saw a lot of money in these things. They made economic decisions. But you get a colleague coming in who's a racer, and he buys 2 of them, and he wants to go racing. So you're really trading this kind of business orientation to racing, which I think NASCAR is all for.
Mike said you're going down to 2 trucks, if I remember correctly. Have you sold the owner points for the other 2 trucks? Or?
You'd have to ask Mike about that. That's not my bailiwick.
Okay.
Yeah.
Did you approach Richard first, or did he come to you, or how did this come about?
I had my hook in the water for about 4 or 5 months. I sat and watched, and if you remember the sequence, we announced that we were going to go cup racing without a charter.
Correct.
Well, actually, I had been looking for charters first before we announced we'd go cup racing, but the market was so, culture or sticker shock there in June, July, and August. So okay, we'll just go racing, but you keep your hook in the water for charters. And my logic was that I think if you're got enough cojones to wait and see what happens at the end, maybe you're the last guy standing. So there was just some kind of musical chair approach. And I'd been talking to the Pettys through Mike and, over off and on, but other people as well. And, by the time we got to the end, it was pretty common knowledge the Pettys were in the market, and so we started talking more actively. And I think what Richard said really made the difference. We're ready to go racing. If somebody just comes in and buys a couple charters, that asset turns into a liability on December 1st. Because now you got to go racing next year, and this year it's even worse because you got to go put together cars. You have to spend another $2-3 million per charter to put cars together. So it was a really moment in time that was going to be unique. So we were ready to do all that, and that's why the second charter coming back from Mr. Ware through Petty's and having the 43, the number one charter, all that made sense. Plus the organization. So it took a while to get the deal done, but at the end it's a lot of money. It's more than they were going for. I think Mr. Ware paid $7 million for a charter at the end of last year. Before that, they were $2, $3, $4 million. We looked at the 23 in bankruptcy. It was a $2 million charter, I think 2.5. So, I mean, that's a big escalation in price.
How much? Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
Do you think doing multiple charters at one time like that is what helped drive the price down to a more comfortable level for you guys, or do you think that had any impact?
Hard to say. When you have such a thin market, who knows what changes the price? If you go buy oil futures, it's the most liquid market in the world. Cents will move a price. This is probably the most restricted market when you have 36 items that are trading, and all but about 6 or 7 are on the market. The others, Hendrick's not selling their charters, right? Gibbs not selling them. So it's a very restricted market.
How much did this merger kind of hinge on Medallion Financial Corp being, interested in selling their shares and ownership of Petty?
They definitely had to be interested, and I believe if you knew some of the financial stuff, they were under pressure from activist shareholders who they were being forced to publish their numbers. If you go look at their filings in the public filings, they were forced to put out the Petty numbers in RPAC numbers in their filings, and they kept showing losses. Why are they doing this? So, I mean, activist shareholders kind of come in and they second guess management and say, why are you doing this? And so they were feeling pressure. So I'm not saying that made their decision, but it certainly put, I think, some emphasis on them looking at something.
The driver crew chief pairings remain intact. You guys didn't meddle with that. Did you just kind of want to see, let's see those take root and try to go forward with what had already been put in place?
Well, the contracts were already signed with Eric, Mr. Ellens as well, I believe. And, again, we just stepped into the stream, if you will, same company, same everything. So it's not prudent to undo all that stuff. Eric's a good driver too. So is Dave Ellens. I'm very excited to have those guys there. And Mike's put together a good team over there with Ty, and I've forgotten the name of our crew chief. Bad, shame on me. But I think there's going to be change, but you don't want to come in and rip the bandage off too much. You want to consolidate, get it going, and really get a good flow going here in the next few months.